Our second scripture is from the book of Proverbs, chapter 2, verses 1 through 5. My child, if you accept my words and treasure up my commandments within you, making your ear attentive to wisdom and inclining your heart to understanding, if you indeed cry out for insight and raise your voice for understanding, if you seek it like silver and search for it as a hidden treasures, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. The word of God for the people of God.
Thanks be to God. Thank you, Randy. So this week, we finish up our series entitled Full Body Health. And it is important that we have full body health. Our body, our mind, our emotions, and our spirit. Now, one thing I want to clear up right away. Sometimes when we say spirit and we say soul, we use those interchangeably. And they really are not meant to be interchangeable. In fact, I looked it up in a theology dictionary to define the two, just to make sure we're all on the same page, right? A soul is the part of our humanity that makes us feel emotions. Okay? Now the spirit is what we're talking about today. The spirit is our deeper connection with the Lord when we believe in God and receive Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior. So it's the deeper part, the part that really helps us connect with God to a further and deeper extent. It's important that we have a healthy connection with God, right? A healthy spirit. Now, as some of you may not have realized, this is the time of year that I have to fill out paperwork for the district. If you have never filled out district paperwork, consider yourself blessed, okay? There is a lot of paperwork that we have to deal with. And that means that I have to start looking ahead for the next year, in fact. It's part of the process. And as I did the questionnaires and looking through all of those questionnaires that I sent out and asking you all questions about different things, I also went about establishing goals for myself and for the church for next year. So I'm really thinking about next year. And as I thought about it, it's kind of like a New Year's resolution. We love New Year's resolutions, right? We make them every year. We never follow them. We never keep them, but we make them every year. In fact, they say that the gyms are the fullest in the month of January, because that's when people start their New Year's resolution. I'm going to keep myself in better shape. I'm going to eat better. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I don't do New Year's resolutions because it almost seems like a cop-out. Because we're saying, well, I'm going to do these New Year's resolutions, but I'm not going to start till the beginning of the year. I think it's actually more important for us to make the changes right away, isn't it? To make it intentional to do it right away. It's like, how many of you have said, I'm going to start a diet tomorrow, right? We've all said that. Yeah, today's already started. That's usually, we justify it. We do. We justify putting it off. And so I try to make a point of making myself do the things now, being intentional about it now. Now, I'm not great at it. Don't say, oh, well, I really want to copy him. Don't. I'm doing better, but I think it's important that we be intentional about what we do. So I want to share, I do a couple different things. But one of the things I started with this new program called PQ. And it's designed to keep me mentally healthy. To be intentional about my health in other ways as well. It starts out with the mental parts of it. And so each day I have a gauge on my phone, and it'll tell me if I've completed each of these exercises, and I get points. Anybody ever played a game and your whole goal, you know it's all about the points, And so you do whatever you can to get as many points as you can. That's me. I want to get as many PQ points as I possibly can. So I do everything I can. But it's important that we exercise every part of ourselves. So remember, first item we talked about was our body. Well, how do we exercise our body? How do we take care of our body? How do we keep a healthy body? We exercise and we eat right. What about our mind? How do we have a healthy mind? Well, we read. Maybe you do some brain teasers. You have to exercise. You have to keep a healthy mind that way. Emotions. How do you have healthy emotions? Well, I think part of it is paying attention to others. How are people reacting to you? How are you reacting to others? Because we have a greater scope of understanding of our emotions then. We understand how other people respond. Now, it's entirely possible you may respond one way to a particular event, and somebody else is going to react a different way. It's important to acknowledge both because they are important. But now the spirit. How do you have a healthy spirit? We never talk about that, do we? We never talk about really having a healthy spirit. What does that mean? What does it mean to have a healthy spirit? Because we have to keep that healthy too, don't we? And I think it really breaks down to something really, really simple that we should be doing anyways. Listening to God. Really simple. It really is. There's the story of this Native American who lived on a reservation his whole life. He lived on this reservation. And he decided to go visit one of his friends in New York City. And they are going into Times Square, because if you go to New York City, you got to go to Times Square. It's pretty wild, but it's definitely something to see. And they're walking along, and all of a sudden, the Native American, he stops and he says, "I hear a cricket." His friend looks at him, kind of like some of you are probably looking, and, "What do you mean you can hear a cricket? There is no way you are hearing a cricket. We have cars, revving their engines and honking their horns and people yelling, and there's just chaos here. There is no way you are hearing a cricket." And he says, No, I can hear a cricket. I know it's here. He said, "I'll tell you what, follow me." So he takes his friend across the street to this concrete planter. There's some leaves and everything growing up there, a bush, and he lifts up some of the leaves, and right underneath is a cricket. And he said, his friend says, "I cannot believe you heard a cricket. You must have the best ears ever." He says, "My ears are no different than yours. It depends on what you're listening for." He said, let me explain it this way. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a handful of change, quarters and nickels, dimes, that type of thing, and just tosses it down on the sidewalk. And every head for half a block around whipped around. He said, "See, it's all what you're listening for." And there's a difference, isn't it? And that's a good illustration because it shows us that we need to be listening for God even in the chaos, even in the noise, because we need to know what we're listening for. We need to listen for the perfect voice, the best voice there is out there. God will give us the right directions if we can hear him through the noise, if we can hear him through the chaos, if we can hear him through the world. And that's one of our biggest problems, isn't it? We don't hear God. We don't listen for God. And here is the thing. If we want to have a healthy spirit, we must listen to God. We need to listen to him through our prayers, through advisors. We have some wonderful prayer warriors. We have some wonderful people I turn to, not only here, but in different places. If I have a spiritual question. But we can also, of course, turn to Scripture. The Peanuts comic strip, I consider probably one of the greatest comics ever made. There was one where Lucy, So Lucy is Charlie Brown's little sister, the little blonde-haired girl. Very opinionated on a number of things. But she is preparing for church on Sunday morning. And she's struggling with her memory verse. You remember doing those, right? The memory verses. And she's struggling with it. And she cannot remember what her verse was. And she was kind of flipping through the Bible a little bit. And she goes, well, maybe it's in the book of reevaluations. And we laugh because, that's funny. But I wonder, shouldn't the Bible all be reevaluations for us? Pointing us to where we need to reevaluate our lives. Reevaluate what we are listening for, what we are listening to. We need to reevaluate where we are in this world, time and time and time again. Proverbs talks about the fact that that people are given all of these things to grow and be wise, to gain in wisdom, to be better people. How many of you regularly go to a doctor? I'm not trying to trick anybody. I promise. I'm not trying to trick. We regularly go to a doctor, right? Because we need checkups. And because maybe we're sick. Did anybody here have perfect health? Good. This will be an easy illustration then. Think about this. Okay, if you don't have perfect health, what do you need to do when the doctor talks to you? You need to listen, right? We need to listen to what he says. But more importantly, we need to obey. There's a book by a guy named Nicky Gumbel, and it's called The Questions of Life. And he talks about the doctor's visit this way, and I'm just going to read it because he wrote it so beautifully. He says, suppose I go to the doctor and say, Doctor, I have a number of problems. I have a problem of fungus growing under my toenails. I have piles. My eyes itch. I need a flu jab. I have very bad backaches, and I have a tennis elbow. Then, after having gone through my list of complaints, I look at my watch and say, goodness me, time is getting on. Well, I must be off. Thank you for listening. The doctor might want to say, hang on a second. Why don't you listen to me? So think about this. How many times have you gone to the doctor with an issue, with a problem? The doctor gives you a solution and you don't do it. I know I'm not the only one that's done that, right? We've all done that. We honestly, it seems like a lot of the time we go to the doctor just to complain. We want this problem fixed, but we don't want to have to do any work for it. We're aiming for pills. We're aiming for shots. Now, not pills that we have to take on a regular basis and not shots that we have to do regularly. We want to do a one and out, right? That's what we want. But it really makes no sense. If we want to get healthy, we have to not only listen to what the doctor says, but be obedient. Obey what he has to say. Interestingly enough, the word obedience comes from the Latin word obediere, which means to hear. Now that's interesting. But the reverse side of it, the Latin word for death is absurdius. That's where we get the word absurd from. Somebody brought this all together in this perfect quote, and it was anonymous, so I don't know who said it, but I would like to thank them for it. It says, to truly hear God is to obey him. Not to hear and obey is the way of absurdity. Isn't that valid? I mean, doesn't that make sense? It's absurd. We go to a doctor wanting a solution for our problems, and we don't listen, and we still feel bad. That's pretty absurd. Why don't we listen to God, the great physician? We have a problem. We need to be healthy. We don't listen, and we still have the same problem. that's pretty absurd too. We need to listen and obey. Listen and obey. Our scripture from John talks about Jesus calling to his sheep, and he wants them to follow him, but only if they listen to his voice and follow him are they his sheep. You need to follow and listen. It goes together. You need to be unified in that one aspect. Because let's be honest, what happens to a sheep that doesn't follow and obey the shepherd? They die. That's all there is to it. Because what does the shepherd do for a sheep? It takes care of the sheep, making sure they have food and water, and protecting them from any predators. If a sheep does not listen, does not obey, they will die. Pretty similar to our situation, isn't it? So why do we want to be healthy in spirit? Well, because we need to be able to do the work that's placed before us. John 14:15 says, if you love me, keep my commandments. We need to keep the commandments. How can we be in line with the commandments if we're not healthy, if we're not ready to do the job placed before us? Anybody remember our mission statement for the United Methodist Church and this church? Anybody know what it is? To make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. Excellent. Anybody know where that came from? You might have heard it before. Jesus might have mentioned it. It's actually the Great Commission. That's where this came from. Anybody know what that one is? Matthew 28:19-20. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. We've got two verses right here that both talk about following his commandments. We're to do that. And how can we serve if we're not healthy? We have to be healthy before we can serve. Think about that. I'm going to give you a for instance. For instance, let's say you have just been given a year subscription to free for a personal trainer. Now, if you've never looked up, they're expensive. To get a personal trainer, that's pricey. So you go to the gym. I mean, you just got your new gym outfit. I don't know what it looks like. I'm not judging. But you go to the gym, you got your new outfit on, you go and you meet your trainer, and you walk up and you see him smoking a cigarette, a burrito in the other side of his mouth, just popped open his beer, wearing jeans and a t-shirt that's way too short for him. You know what I'm talking about, that gut hanging over. You can see all the hairs. You going to be listening to that guy? Is that the person you want to go with? You're not going to listen to that person to be healthy. The same with us. We need to be in shape. We need to have healthy spirits so that we can help train others. Now, we're going to all make mistakes, and that's going to happen. But we need to do it at our best. And to be at our best, we have to have healthy spirits. So if we want to walk alongside each other, if we want them to be healthy too, we need to be healthy. We don't want to go with somebody who can't handle the load. For example, does anybody know what a spotter is when it comes, especially to weightlifting? I know a few of you know. So if you've ever gone or seen it on TV, somebody is laying down on the weight bench and they're lifting the weights, and there's somebody else standing right there, almost has their hands on the bar. That is a spotter. You want to have a healthy spotter, don't you? For example, Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime would not want me as a spotter. Okay, not going to happen. Actually, Arnold Schwarzenegger now would still not want me as a spotter. You want somebody that can handle the load. the work, the weight of what's going to happen. We are to be, in a way, personal trainers, spotters for new Christians, for new people coming alongside, maybe even for each other. None of us are perfect. We all need more training, more work to be done. How can we make disciples if we're not disciples? 1 Timothy 5:8 says, "But if anyone does not provide for his relatives and especially for members of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever." Now, some may say, well, my family, we're all Christians. Let me change that. Instead of members of his household, how about neighbors? How about I change that word to neighbors? Remember, Jesus talked about neighbors, didn't he? Who did he say our neighbors were? Everybody. Literally everybody. So if you are not taking care of your neighbors, you have denied your faith and are worse than an unbeliever. We need to take care of ourselves so we can take care of others. Again, I looked at our questionnaire that I had a lot of you filled out for me. And one of the questions was, what can we do to improve this church? And a lot of you said, we want more members. That's a wonderful goal. I love that. Not just because we want to grow this church, but we want to grow the kingdom of God. That's the biggest piece. That's the most important part. But it would be nice to have more people here, right? How can we do that, though, if we aren't healthy ourselves? How are we going to grow new members if we're not healthy ourselves? How are we going to be the people that we need to be if we're not healthy ourselves? If we're not doing the job that Christ has put before us, how can we bring others in? We have to be healthy ourselves first and foremost. Then we bring others in. And how awesome would it be to grow the kingdom of God in a beautiful and wonderful way? We need to have full body health to grow the body of Christ, which is the church. And I'm not just talking about this little group here, which is, I love you all, but when I'm talking about the church, I'm talking about all the believers of Christ. That's who we want to grow. That's who we want to expand so far that people cannot ignore it anymore. We want to grow the church so we can set the world on fire for Christ. So, I ask you, what are you listening for? Are you listening to the world or to God? God will change the world. The world can change you. Which are you going to listen to? Let's bow our heads.